Let her wait outside. We're having dinner. Virginia's voice pierced through the window like a dagger. My own daughter-in-law had just condemned me to stand in the rain while they enjoyed their meal. I had been standing there for 3 hours of getting soaked while my family was eating in the warmth of the house I had helped them buy. But that night, I made a decision that would bring them to their knees the very next day. My name is Charlotte. I'm 69 years old, and it all began that Friday morning when I woke up with a feeling of excitement. Listen to the story to the end and tell me what you would do in my place. After 3 months of not seeing my grandson, Mason, my son, Michael, had finally invited me to dinner. "Mom, come over tonight at 6. We'd love to see you," he had said in that sweet voice that melted my heart. I had been a widow for 5 years. I had worked my entire life cleaning houses, selling baked goods, doing whatever was necessary to raise my son. And now that he had his own family, I was still the one supporting them. Their bank accounts, the mortgage on the house, Mason's private school, the car payments. Everything came from my pension and my life's savings. But I didn't care. They were my own flesh and blood, my reason for living. I got ready with so much care that afternoon. I chose my maroon dress, the one that made me feel elegant despite my wrinkles. I put on my late mother's pearls and that French perfume I had bought on sale. I wanted to look perfect for my family. I walked to the downtown toy store and bought the Transformer robot that Mason had asked for the last time we saw each other. I also stopped by the French bakery for those little pastries that Virginia loved so much. The bags were heavy in my arms, but my heart felt light with happiness. I took the number 43 bus, the same one as always. A 45-minute trip, watching the city go by, imagining Mason's surprise when he saw his gift. It was a beautiful October afternoon. The sky was clear, and there was that gentle breeze that reminded me of when Michael was little, and we used to go feed the pigeons in the park. I arrived at their suburban neighborhood, the one that filled me with so much pride, because I knew my hard work had made it possible for them to live there. I walked the 4 blocks from the bus stop to their house, that 2-story house with a yard that had my name on the deed as a co-signer. I rang the doorbell at exactly 6, as we had agreed, and that's when my nightmare began. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my story of revenge from. I want to know how far it has reached. Virginia opened the door with a forced smile. She was wearing an elegant black dress that I had given her last month. "Hello, Charlotte," she said without inviting me in. "You've arrived at a bad time. We have company and—" "But Michael invited me for dinner," I replied, confused, feeling the bags in my hands grow heavier. Yes, but you know what? Wait here for just a minute while I talk to him, okay?" And she closed the door right in my face. I stood at the entrance, not understanding what had happened. I could hear voices inside, laughter, the clinking of glasses. I smelled roast beef, wine, a celebration. But I was outside. I waited 5 minutes, 10, 15. I rang the doorbell again. This time, Michael opened it. My son, my pride, the man for whom I had sacrificed everything. "Mom, what are you still doing here?" he asked with an uncomfortable smile. "You told me to come for dinner, son. Here I am." He looked back as if consulting with someone. "Look, Mom, some of Virginia's friends showed up by surprise, and we don't have enough food. How about you come tomorrow instead?" I felt as though I'd been slapped. I had spent my last dollars on these gifts. I had taken 2 buses. I had gotten dressed with such care. "But son, you invited me." I brought gifts for Mason and— I know, Mom, but you have to understand. It's complicated. Virginia appeared from behind him with a glass of wine in her hand. Charlotte, it really was a misunderstanding. Let's reschedule for another day, yes, when we have more time to properly host you. As if I were a burden, as if I needed to be hosted out of pity. Just then, I heard Mason's voice from inside. "Who is it, Dad?" "No one important, son. Keep eating." Michael replied. "No one important." His own grandmother. No one important. "It's okay," I managed to whisper. "I'll go." But instead of leaving, I stayed there. I didn't know what to do or where to go. The buses didn't run as frequently at that hour, and then it started to rain. First, it began as a soft drizzle, little drops settling in my freshly styled hair, but in a few minutes, it turned into a torrential downpour that soaked my maroon dress. The one I had chosen with such care. I took shelter under the small overhang of the entryway, huddled against the door of my own family's house. I could hear the conversations perfectly from inside. Laughter, toasts, music playing in the background. "Who was that, honey?" I heard an unknown female voice ask. "Oscar's mom," Virginia replied with a tone of annoyance. "She showed up without calling." "But I invited her," my son weakly protested. "Oh, Michael, you know she makes me nervous when she comes over. She always finds something to complain about. The house, how we're raising Mason, everything." My heart broke a little more. What was I complaining about? I had never said an inappropriate word. I always praised them, defended them, admired them. "Besides," Virginia continued, "you know how she gets when she has a glass of wine. She gets so intense, so emotional." Intense, emotional. They barely even offered me a glass of water when I visited. The rain intensified, and I remained there like a wet statue, listening to them talk about me behind my back. "What if she gets sick out there?" Michael asked, with a hint of worry. "Don't be so dramatic. She's probably already gone. Your mom is tougher than she looks." But I hadn't left. I couldn't leave. It was as if my legs had rooted themselves to that marble floor that I had helped pay for. I truly wonder if you were in my place. What would you do? Would you choose to be quiet to maintain peace, or would you dare to face everything to reclaim your voice? I want to know your opinion, because every story is like a candle that can light the way for someone else. An hour passed. Water seeped through my shoes. I felt the wet clothes clinging to my wrinkled skin. I shivered from the cold, but something inside me refused to move. I rang the doorbell again. This time, it took them a long time to open it. When they finally did, it was Michael who appeared with an expression of annoyance. "Mom, you're still here. You're going to get sick." "Son, please just let me in, at least to dry off. I promise I won't bother you." "The thing is, Mom, the guests are uncomfortable. It's nothing personal, but I'm your mother, Michael, the woman who gave you life, who worked day and night so you could get an education, who is still paying the bills for this house." His face hardened. "Here we go again. That's why Virginia doesn't want you to come so often. You turn everything into a drama." A drama. Asking for a little respect was a drama. "Son, I just want to be with my family. Is that too much to ask?" "Michael, close the door. You're letting all the heat out," Virginia shouted from inside. And my son, my own son, obeyed. He closed the door without any further explanation. I stood there, in the rain, feeling my tears mix with the water falling from the sky. The bags with the gifts were soaked. The wrapping paper was disintegrating in my hands. I walked to the dining room window. Through the lace curtains that I had given them last year, I could see the perfect scene. the table set with the fine china, crystal glasses gleaming under the light of the chandelier, elegant people conversing animatedly. There was my grandson Mason, sitting in his high chair, eating calmly. My grandson, for whom I bought clothes, toys, for whom I paid for the most expensive school in the city. Grandma, Charlotte, I whispered, pressing my face against the foggy window. At that moment, Mason turned toward the window. Our eyes met for a second. He saw me there, soaked, shivering from the cold, but instead of running to the door to hug me, he simply continued eating as if nothing had happened. It was then that I overheard the conversation that completely destroyed me. "Did you see? She's still there," Virginia said to her friend, pointing toward the window where I was. "They're not going to let her in. Poor thing, she's soaked." "Not a chance. Let her wait outside if she wants. We're having a nice dinner, and I'm not going to let her ruin our evening." "But she's the boy's grandmother. She's a very difficult woman. She always wants to be the center of attention. If I let her in, she'll start with her dramas, her reproaches, her laments." "No, thank you." Michael intervened weakly. "Virginia, maybe we could—" "Maybe what? Let her come in and make our night miserable? Your mother needs to learn that she can't just show up whenever she feels like it." "But I invited her." "You invited her because you felt sorry for her, as always. But look at the situation she's put us in. Our guests are asking questions. The boy is confused." Mason, my adorable grandson, looked up from his plate. "Why don't we let Grandma in?" "Because the adults are talking about important things, honey. Your grandmother will leave soon." But I wasn't leaving. I couldn't leave. It was as if the pain had nailed me to the ground. 2 more hours passed. 2 full hours under that relentless rain that seemed to mock my misery. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. The cold had penetrated so deep into my bones that I wasn't even shivering. It was as if my body had accepted defeat, but my soul was still burning with humiliation. 3 full hours. 180 minutes of my life lost under that rain, while my family ate as if I didn't exist. The water streamed down my face, washing away the makeup I had applied so carefully. My maroon dress, the one that made me feel elegant, now clung to my body like a second skin, wet and waden. The bags with the gifts were a disaster. The wrapping paper had completely disintegrated, revealing Mason's soaked robot box. The pastries had turned into a soft mush inside their elegant wrapping. But what hurt the most wasn't the cold, or the rain, or the ruined clothes. It was realizing that to my own family, I was nothing more than a nuisance. Tell me whether you have parents, grandparents, or older family members who deserve more respect than they currently receive from their families. Alternatively, tell me if you yourself are going through a situation in which you're not appreciated as much as you truly deserve. At that moment, I heard footsteps approaching from the hallway inside. My heart leaped with hope. Maybe Michael is coming to get me, I thought. Maybe he realized what was happening. But it wasn't Michael. It was Virginia, walking toward the window with a glass of red wine in her hand. She approached the curtains and pulled them back slightly to look outside. She saw me there, soaked, shivering with the destroyed bags at my feet, and she smiled. It wasn't a smile of pity or concern. It was a smile of satisfaction, as if she were enjoying my suffering. She stayed there for a few seconds, watching me as if she were watching a show. Then she calmly walked back to the dining room table. "Is she still there?" her friend asked. "Yes, like an abandoned dog," Virginia replied with a cruel giggle. "But she'll get tired and leave." "Don't you feel bad for her?" "Not at all. She's a manipulative woman. This is pure theater to make us feel guilty. Theater, manipulation. When the only thing I had ever done in my life was love my family, work for them, sacrifice everything for their well-being. Besides, Virginia continued, raising her voice so I could hear her clearly, it was about time someone set some boundaries with her. She's always thought that just because she pays for some things, she can show up whenever she wants. Some things, as if the $500 monthly transfers to their accounts were just some things. As if the house mortgage, Mason's school, the health insurance, the credit cards were some things. If I were you, I'd let her in, the friend insisted. She looks really bad out there. Well, good thing you're not in my place. This is my house, and I decide who comes in. Her house. The house that had my name on all the documents as a co-signer. The house whose payments came out of my account every month. Michael appeared in the dining room. I could see his silhouette through the curtains. Virginia, it's 9 o'clock already. My mom has been out there for 3 hours. She's going to get sick. Then let her leave. Nobody is forcing her to stay. But she doesn't have a way to get home. The buses aren't running at this hour anymore. Well, she can call a cab or walk. It's not my problem. Walk. It was more than 6 miles to my house, and a cab would cost all the money I had in my wallet. Virginia, please, she's my mother. And that's why she should respect us, but she always has to turn into the victim, the martyr we all have to adore. At that moment, Mason got up from the table and ran to the window. "Grandma! Grandma! Charlotte!" he cried, pressing his little hands against the glass. My heart fluttered with joy. My grandson had seen me. He was calling to me. But Virginia grabbed him by the arm and pulled him back. "Mason, no. Your grandmother is playing the victim. Don't pay any attention to her." "But it's raining and she's all wet." "Adults sometimes do strange things to get attention. Your grandmother will leave when she gets tired of her tantrum." A tantrum. Standing there in the rain, hoping my family would give me a minimum of respect was a tantrum. "Michael, control your son," Virginia said to my son in an authoritarian tone. And Michael, as always, obeyed. "Come here, Mason. Leave your grandmother alone." "But Dad," "No buts. Your mom is right. Grandma will leave when she wants to." My grandson looked at me one more time through the glass. In his eyes, I saw confusion, sadness, but also something that broke my soul. Fear. Fear of disobeying his parents, fear of defending his grandmother, and at that moment, I knew I had lost them forever. The rain continued to fall on my shed, but I no longer felt it. The emotional pain had surpassed any physical discomfort. I took my cell phone out of my soaked wallet. I had several messages from my neighbor, Amelia, asking me how dinner had been. "Everything's great! How's my beautiful grandson?" I couldn't respond to her. I had no words to explain what I was going through. Instead, I dialed another number. A number I knew by heart, but which I never thought I'd use in a situation like this. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. "National Bank Customer Service. This is Patricia. How can I help you?" "Good evening," I said, my voice broken from the cold and emotion. "I need to freeze some accounts." "Of course, ma'am. Can you provide me with your client number and ID?" My voice was trembling. I didn't know if it was from the cold or the decision I was about to make. With my numb fingers, I typed the numbers the operator asked for. "Perfect, Mrs. Charlotte Davis. I see you are the account holder for several accounts and the co-signer for several others. Which ones specifically do you need to freeze?" I took a deep breath. Through the window, I could see Virginia serving dessert to her guests. Mason was laughing at something one of the adults had said. Michael was toasting with a glass of wine that probably cost more than I spent on food in a week. All of them, I replied, with a firmness I didn't know I had. I want to freeze all the accounts where I am the account holder or a cosigner. I understand. May I ask the reason? It's for the corresponding report. Suspicion of unauthorized use. I lied without batting an eye. Very well. I see here we have the checking account ending in 4587, the savings account ending in 20841, and the joint accounts ending in 7890 and 5432. You also appear as a cosigner on a home equity line of credit and 2 credit cards. Do you wish to freeze everything? Every number she mentioned was a piece of my life. The checking account where my pension was deposited, the savings I had built dollar by dollar over 40 years of work, the joint accounts that Michael had access to for the house expenses, and Mason's education. Everything, I repeated. Ma'am, I must inform you that this means no one will be able to make withdrawals, transfers, or use the associated cards until you authorize the unfreezing. Are you sure? Through the window, I saw Virginia elegantly get up from the table with that grace that only comes from years of not having to worry about money. She walked toward the kitchen, probably to pour more wine. Completely sure. Perfect. The process will take approximately 2 hours to become effective. Do you need anything else? Yes. I would like you to email me the confirmation of all the locked operations. Of course. Your request has been registered with case number 789456. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, thank you. I hung up the phone with a strange sense of peace. For the first time in 3 hours, I smiled. I moved away from the window and walked to the front door one last time. I rang the doorbell insistently, as if it were an emergency. This time, Virginia opened it, clearly annoyed. Charlotte, which part of "you can't come in" didn't you understand? I just came to say goodbye, I told her with a calmness that took her aback. Say goodbye? Yes, I finally got the message. I'm not welcome in this house. I could see her expression change slightly. Maybe she was expecting tears, pleas, drama. Well, I'm glad you finally understood. I just want you to know one thing, I continued with a serene smile. Starting tomorrow, you're going to have to learn to live on your own resources. What do you mean by that? Nothing important, just that I think it's time for Michael and you to become fully responsible for your expenses. Virginia laughed with contempt. Please, Charlotte, don't threaten me. We know you can't live without us, without Mason, without Michael. Your whole life revolves around this family. You're right. My life has revolved around you, but tonight that changed. Oh, yeah? And what are you going to do? Go live alone with your cats? I'm going to be happy, I simply replied. How dramatic, please. Michael appeared behind her. Mom, are you leaving already? Do you need money for a cab? The same son who had closed the door in my face was now worried about how I was going to get home. I don't need anything from you, son. Not ever again. Don't be like that, Mom. You know how Virginia gets when we have guests. We'll talk tomorrow, okay? There's nothing to talk about, Michael. Why are you acting so weird? It's as if something happened to you. I let out a laugh, a bitter but liberating laugh. Yes, something did happen to me. I realized that I have been wasting my life. Mom, don't exaggerate. I'm not exaggerating. I'm being realistic for the first time in years. Virginia grew impatient. Well, that's enough. If you two are done with your soap opera, we have guests waiting. Of course. Go back to your dinner. Enjoy your perfect life. I turned and started walking toward the street. "Mom!" Michael yelled. "How are you going to get home?" "That's no longer your problem," I replied without turning around. I walked through the rain, soaked, with the destroyed bags of gifts hanging from my arms. But for the first time all night, I felt light. I reached the main avenue and hailed a cab. The driver, an older man, looked at me with concern. "Ma'am, are you okay? You're soaked." "I'm perfect," I replied. And it was true. During the entire ride home, I couldn't stop smiling. In my purse, my phone vibrated with the bank's confirmation. "Dear client, we confirm that all your accounts have been successfully frozen. No transactions can be made until further authorization." Tomorrow was going to be a very interesting day. I arrived at my house at around 11 at night, completely soaked, but with a strange sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. I took off the ruined maroon dress, took a hot shower, and put on my most comfortable pajamas. For the first time in a long time, I slept soundly, without nightmares, without worries about Michael's expenses, without anxiety about pleasing Virginia. It was as if I had left a 50-pound weight at the door of that house. I woke up the next day with the sun streaming through my window. It was 8 a.m., and I felt refreshed. I made my usual black coffee, toasted a slice of sourdough with homemade jam, and sat on my small balcony to enjoy breakfast. My phone had been silent all night. I checked it, and I didn't have any messages. That's strange, I thought. Michael usually texts to ask if I got home okay. But I remembered the night before and understood that things had changed forever. At 9:30, my doorbell rang. I looked out the window and saw my neighbor, Amelia, at the door with a bag of pastries. "Good morning, Charlotte. How was dinner last night? You look so relaxed." I told her everything, every detail of my humiliation, every cruel word from Virginia, every moment in the rain. Amelia listened with her eyes growing wider and wider. "I can't believe they did that to you," she said, indignant, "after everything you've done for them." "I don't care anymore, Amelia. For the first time in my life, I made a decision for myself. You froze all their accounts. All of them. And I'm not going to unfreeze them until they get down on their knees and beg for my forgiveness." Amelia laughed. "I love this new Charlotte. It was about time." We were chatting when my phone started ringing off the hook. It was Michael. "Answer it," Amelia said mischievously. "This is going to be good." "Hello." "Mom, what did you do?" "Good morning, son. How did you sleep?" "Mom, don't play dumb. The cards aren't working." Virginia went to the supermarket, and all her purchases were rejected. We went to the bank, and they told us the accounts are frozen. "Oh, yes, they are." "Why did you do that?" "Because it's my money, Michael, and I've decided that I don't want to share it with people who disrespect me." "Mom, don't exaggerate." Virginia was nervous because of the guests. You know how she is. "I know exactly how she is. That's why I made this decision." "But you can't do that. We have expenses, commitments. Mason's school payment is due today." "That's no longer my problem." "What do you mean it's not your problem? He's your grandson." "My grandson who saw me in the rain yesterday and didn't lift a finger to help me." I could hear Virginia yelling something in the background. Virginia says that if you don't unfreeze the accounts, she's going to have to look for a job. What wonderful news. It was about time. "Mom, please, come to the house and we'll talk." I'm not setting foot in that house until Virginia apologizes for treating me like a stray dog. "You're exaggerating. 3 hours in the rain is exaggerating." Michael fell silent. "Mom, look, Virginia says that maybe she didn't express herself well yesterday." She maybe didn't express herself well. I repeated so Amelia could hear. My friend covered her mouth so she wouldn't laugh. Yeah, you know how she is when she's stressed. Son, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to listen carefully. For 5 years, I've paid for your mortgage, your credit cards, Mason's school, the groceries, the gas, the health insurance, your vacations, everything. And the only payment I've received has been humiliation. That's not true. Oh, really? When was the last time Virginia thanked me for anything? When was the last time you invited me to dinner without me having to beg? When was the last time you treated my opinions with respect? Michael didn't answer. Exactly. Never. But Mom, we're family. Family respects each other, son, and you both lost that right yesterday. I hung up the phone and put it on silent. Amelia applauded. Bravo, you gave me chills. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, but this is just the beginning. 30 minutes later, my doorbell rang. I looked out the window and saw Michael's car parked outside. Both he and Virginia got out and walked toward my door. They're here, I said to Amelia. Do you want me to leave? Not at all. Stay, I need a witness. I opened the door before they could ring. Virginia's eyes were red and swollen as if she had been crying. Michael looked desperate. Mom, please, we need to talk. Can we talk here at the door? Amelia is staying as a witness. A witness to what? Virginia asked, her voice broken. To whatever you have to say. Virginia took a step closer. Charlotte, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I was stressed with the guests, and I didn't think about the consequences of my words. What words specifically? Well, when I said you should wait outside. Is that all? Virginia looked at Michael for help. I'm also sorry for making you wait for so long. How long exactly? I don't know. An hour? 3 hours, Virginia. 3 hours in the rain. Yes, 3 hours. I'm so sorry. And what else are you sorry for? What else? Virginia, you said a lot of things yesterday. That I was manipulative, that it was all pure theater, that I should wait outside like an abandoned dog. Virginia's face fell. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. And you also said I was a difficult woman, that I always wanted to be the center of attention, that you had to set boundaries with me. Michael looked at her in surprise. You said all that? Michael, it doesn't matter what I said. What's important is that I was upset and I wasn't thinking. Yes, it matters, I interrupted her, because those words showed what you really think of me. Charlotte, please, unfreeze the accounts and let's forget about all this. No. What do you mean, no? I'm not unfreezing anything until you sincerely apologize. On your knees. On my knees? Virginia was outraged. That's humiliating. Just as it was humiliating for me to stand in the rain for 3 hours waiting for my family to give me a little dignity. Michael intervened. Mom, be reasonable. Virginia already apologized. That wasn't a sincere apology. That was an apology of convenience. What do you want me to do? Virginia asked desperately. I want you to kneel here in front of Amelia as a witness and ask for my forgiveness for every cruel thing you said to me yesterday. That's too much. Then there's no deal. I turned to go back inside my house. Wait! Virginia cried. Virginia looked at me with a mixture of desperation and wounded pride. I could see her internal struggle between her need for money and her resistance to humbling herself before me. Okay, she finally whispered. Michael looked at her in surprise. Virginia, you don't have to— Yes, I do, she interrupted him with tears in her eyes. We don't have a choice. Slowly, very slowly, Virginia knelt on my entryway floor. Her knees touched the cold tiles that I myself had put down years ago when I bought this little house with my savings. "Charlotte," she began, her voice broken, "I apologize for leaving you waiting in the rain." "Continue," I said firmly. "I apologize for calling you manipulative. And what else?" Virginia took a deep breath. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I apologize for saying it was pure theater, for comparing you to an abandoned dog, for saying you were a difficult woman. And for what else? For saying I had to set boundaries with you, for not acknowledging everything you've done for us, for disrespecting you in my own home." Amelia watched the scene with wide eyes. Michael seemed uncomfortable, shifting his feet nervously. "And do you promise that this will never happen again?" "I promise," Virginia whispered. "I didn't hear you." "I promise," she cried in desperation. "You can get up now," I finally said. Virginia slowly got up, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. Her elegant dress now had dust on the knees. "Very well, now comes part 2. "Part 2? Michael asked, alarmed. "Yes, apologies are only the first step. Now for the new rules." "What rules?" Virginia looked terrified. "Sit down here on the lawn chairs. This is going to take a while." Michael and Virginia sat down like scolded schoolchildren. Amelia settled into her chair with a satisfied smile. "Rule number 1, I began. "I am no longer going to be your personal bank. From now on, you are responsible for all your expenses." "But, Mom," "Let me finish, Michael. Rule number 2, I will only transfer money for Mason's basic needs, his school, his food, his clothes. But the piano lessons, swimming lessons, English lessons, and all those extra things are over until you can pay for them yourselves." Virginia went pale. So, rule number 3, no more expensive restaurants, trips, designer clothes, or luxuries paid for with my money. "Charlotte, that's impossible. We can't live like that." "Of course you can. Millions of families live with fewer resources and are perfectly happy." "But we're already used to—" "Exactly. You're used to living beyond your means using my money." "That's over." Michael nervously intervened. "Mom, what if Virginia gets a job?" "That brings us to rule number 4, I continued, relentless. "Virginia has 30 days to find a job. If she doesn't, I will cut all financial support permanently." 30 days, Virginia exclaimed. "That's not enough time. It's more time than I was given yesterday to find shelter from the rain." Amelia nodded in approval. "Rule number 5. My visits will be by specific invitation only. No more come whenever you want and then making me wait at the door." "Okay," Michael mumbled. "Rule number 6. When you invite me, you will treat me with the respect I deserve. No making me feel like an uncomfortable guest in the house that I helped pay for." "Yes, Mom." "Rule number 7. Virginia is going to take classes on manners and respect for elders." "That's humiliating, just as it was humiliating for me to hear your comments yesterday." Virginia looked at Michael, pleading for help, but he was too scared to contradict me. "Rule number 8. You are going to open a savings account where you will deposit 10% of any income you have. It's time you learned to be financially responsible." "But we don't have any income," Virginia protested. "Then you'd better find a job quickly." Rule number 9. No additional credit cards. The ones you have are enough. And rule number 10, I said with a smile, is the most important of all. "What is it?" they both asked in unison. "One single disrespect, One single humiliation, one single derogatory comment toward me, and everything is over forever, with no second chances. The silence was deafening. Virginia was crying silently. Michael looked defeated, and Amelia was smiling proudly. "Do you agree to all the rules?" I asked. "Yes," Michael whispered. "Virginia?" "Yes," she replied through her tears. "Pervette, Amelia is a witness to this agreement. If you break it, she can confirm it." "Charlotte," Virginia said in a pleading voice, "when are you going to unfreeze the accounts?" "When I see real results. When Virginia gets a job. When you treat me with genuine respect. When you show me that you've learned your lesson. And in the meantime, you're going to have to make do with whatever cash you have." Michael took out his wallet and checked it. "I only have $200. "And I have 50, Virginia added. "Then you'd better manage that money well until things change." Virginia got up from the chair trembling. "And what if I don't find a job in 30 days? "Then you'll have to move somewhere cheaper, take Mason out of private school, and live like normal people." "You can't do that to us." "Of course I can. It's my money, and I decide how it's used." Michael approached me with a pleading look. "Mom, please. Be flexible. Virginia will change." You saw she apologized. She apologized because she had no other choice. When someone apologizes out of true repentance, it's very different. "What do we have to do for you to truly forgive us?" Virginia asked desperately. "Show me over the next few months that you really value what I've done for you, that you respect me not for my money, but for being the matriarch of this family." "We will," Michael promised. "I hope so, because this is your last chance." They left that afternoon with empty hands and their heads bowed. I watched them walk away from the window, talking to each other with desperate gestures. "Charlotte," Amelia said to me when they were gone, "you're my hero. I wish all women our age had the courage you have." The next few days were revealing. For the first time in years, my phone didn't ring constantly with requests for money, complaints about expenses, or Virginia asking for a small transfer for some luxury. The silence was beautiful. Amelia came over every afternoon for coffee. The word had spread throughout the building about what had happened, and my neighbors congratulated me for setting boundaries. "Charlotte, we all knew that daughter-in-law of yours was a leech," said Mrs. Rose from the 4th floor. "But we never thought you'd have the guts to turn off the faucet." On the 5th day, Virginia showed up at my door. She was alone. She looked haggard with dark circles under her eyes and her hair unkempt, very different from the elegant and arrogant woman of a week ago. "Charlotte, can we talk?" "We can talk here at the entrance. It's just that it's private." "Virginia, after hearing everything you said about me to your guests, I don't think there's anything private between us anymore." She bit her lower lip nervously. "I've been looking for a job every day, and it's harder than I thought. I'm 35 years old. I haven't worked in 8 years. I don't have recent experience." "Welcome to the real world." "Charlotte, please. Michael is desperate. Yesterday, he had to borrow money from his co-workers to buy food. And what have you done to help?" "I've been filling out applications, going to interviews." "I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you've done to make up for the harm you caused me." Virginia was silent. "Exactly. Nothing. What do you want me to do?" "I want you to really understand what you did. I want you to feel, even just a little, the humiliation you put me through." "I already apologized. You got on your knees because you had no other choice, but you haven't shown an ounce of genuine remorse." Virginia started to cry. "What else do you want from me? I want you to go to every one of the people who were in your house that night and tell them the truth. Tell them that you left me in the rain for 3 hours, that you treated me like an animal, that all of this happened because I'm a woman who deserves respect. That's humiliating. Exactly. Now you know how I felt. I can't do that. They're my friends. I'll look like a what? A cruel woman who mistreats her mother-in-law, because that's exactly what you are. Virginia wiped her tears with the sleeve of her cheap sweater. It was the first time I had seen her without designer clothes. If I do that, will you unfreeze the accounts? It's a first step, but it's not enough. What else? I want you to seriously look for a job, not just online applications from your house. I want you to go out every day, knock on doors, beg if necessary. I'm already doing that. Oh, really? Have you gone to clean houses? Have you asked in restaurants if they need a waitress? Have you considered working at a supermarket? Virginia's face was horrified. Those kinds of jobs are what? They're humiliating. Just as it was humiliating for me to clean houses for 30 years so my son could go to college. Just as it's humiliating to work from sunup to sundown to support a family that doesn't appreciate you. I didn't know. Of course you knew. You just didn't care. Virginia stood there in my entryway, watching her world of privilege crumble. Charlotte, I promise I'm going to change. Promises are made of wind, Virginia. Actions are what count. Give me a chance. I am giving you a chance. You have 25 days to get any job, and I want proof. Pay stubs, contracts, something tangible. And if I don't get one, then Michael will have to decide if he wants to stay married to a woman who isn't willing to contribute to her household. Virginia's eyes widened in panic. You would tell him that? I wouldn't have to tell him. He would realize it on his own. Please, Charlotte, I have a son. Mason is my grandson before he is your son, and he will be fine because I will never abandon him. But you have to earn your place in this family. Virginia left that day paler than when she had arrived. 2 days later, Michael came to visit me. He also looked bad, but there was something different about him, a humility I hadn't seen in years. Mom, can I come in? Of course, son. He sat in my small living room, looking around as if he were seeing it for the first time. Your house has always been so welcoming, he told me. I don't know why I never realized it. Because you were too busy enjoying the house I helped you pay for. You're right. And you're right about everything that's happening. I looked at him in surprise. It was the first time Michael had ever agreed with me about something related to Virginia. Do you really think that? Mom, these days without money have opened my eyes. Virginia has been hysterical, screaming at me that I'm useless for not being able to support my family. She's said horrible things to me. Like what? That I'm a failure. That if it weren't for your money, we never would have had the life we have. That she married me only because I had a rich mother. I felt as if I had been stabbed. She told you that? Yes, and other things. She told me all her friends laugh at us because we depend on an old lady. An old lady. Her words, not mine. I got up from the chair, furious. Michael, that woman doesn't love you. She's using you. I know, Mom. I know now. And what are you going to do about it? I don't know. I'm afraid of being alone, of Mason growing up without a complete family. Son, it's better to grow up in a home with one person who loves him than in a home with 2 people who hate each other. Michael began to cry. My 40-year-old son, crying like a child. Mom, I think I made a terrible mistake marrying Virginia. When did you realize that? These past few days, when we didn't have money, when she had to face reality. She showed her true colors. She's selfish, cruel, materialistic. And yet, you chose to believe her instead of defending me. I know, and I regret it every day. Do you regret it? Or are you just scared because the easy money is gone? Michael looked me straight in the eyes. I regret it because I lost the most important woman in my life for a woman who doesn't even respect me. For the first time in days, I felt like my son had come back. Son, I said, taking his hands, you never lost me, but you do need to make some difficult decisions. Like what? Like deciding if you want to stay in a marriage where there is no love or respect. Michael sighed deeply. Mom, I'm scared. Virginia can take Mason. She can ask me for alimony. She can... Michael, stop being afraid and start being brave. Do you think I wasn't afraid when your dad died and I was left alone with you? Do you think I wasn't afraid when I worked 3 jobs so you could go to college? No, Mom. You were always so strong. I wasn't born strong, son. I became strong because I had no other option, and neither do you. At that moment, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Charlotte Davis? Yes, this is she. This is Monica Garcia, the director of Mason's school. I'm calling because this month's payment was rejected, and we need to get it caught up. I looked at Michael, who had heard the whole conversation. How much do you owe? It's $200 for this month, plus $800 for extra fees that accumulated. I understand. Could you give me until Friday to make the payment? Of course, ma'am. But after that date, we will have to suspend Mason until the situation is resolved. I hung up the phone and looked at my son. Michael, do you have it? Mom, you know I don't. Then Virginia has 3 days to get a job, or Mason will be taken out of school. You can't do that. He's your grandson. Exactly. He's my grandson, and I'm not going to keep paying for his education so his parents can live like royalty without working. But if Mason gets taken out of school, then you'll enroll him in a public school just like I did, just like you did for the first few years. Virginia will never accept that. Then Virginia had better find a way to pay for it. Michael got to his feet, desperate. Mom, help me just one more time. I promise after this. No, son, no more promises, just actions. What do you want me to do? I want you to take control of your life. Tell Virginia that if she doesn't find a job in 3 days, the marriage is over. That's too radical. You know what's radical? Leaving your mother in the rain for 3 hours. That's radical. Michael was silent for a long time. Would you help me if I divorced Virginia? I would help you raise Mason, get a smaller apartment, and start over, but with conditions. What conditions? First condition, no luxuries, a simple, frugal, responsible life. Do you accept? I accept. Second condition, you'll appreciate my effort and sacrifice. You'll never take me for granted again. Do you accept? I accept. Third condition, if you ever remarry, your new partner will respect the place I have in this family. Do you accept? I accept everything, Mom. Very well. Then go home and talk to Virginia. Tell her she has 72 hours to get a job or this marriage is over. And if she says no, then you'll have your answer about what kind of woman she really is. Michael left that afternoon with a mixture of determination and nervousness. I stayed and waited, knowing that the next few hours would be decisive. I didn't have to wait long. At 11 o'clock at night, Virginia showed up at my door in a rage. Open this door, Charlotte. I opened it and found her with disheveled hair and her eyes red with fury. How dare you put ideas in Michael's head? What are you talking about? He told me that if I don't get a job in 3 days, he's going to divorce me. Oh, he told you that? Yes, and it's your fault. No, Virginia, it's your fault for being a selfish gold digger. I'm not a gold digger. Oh, no? When was the last time you worked? When was the last time you financially contributed to the household? I take care of the house. I take care of Mason. Mason is at school 8 hours a day, and you have a housekeeper that I also help pay for. Virginia was speechless. Charlotte, please don't destroy my marriage. I'm not destroying anything. Your attitude is destroying it. What do you want from me? I want you to go out and look for a job tomorrow. Any job. And I want you to get one before Friday. It's impossible. It's not impossible. It's difficult. There's a difference. And if I get one, will you unfreeze the accounts? I will start contributing gradually, but it will never be like before. What does that mean? It means that you will have to live primarily on what you both earn. I will only help with Mason's basics. Virginia began to cry from frustration. It's not fair! You know what's not fair, that a 69-year-old woman has to work to support 2 able-bodied adults, but we need you. You don't need me. You need my money. There's a big difference. Charlotte, please. Virginia, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to remember it well. If you don't go out and seriously look for a job tomorrow, if you don't have a source of income by Friday, I'm going to unfreeze the accounts only to help Michael divorce you. Virginia's eyes widened in terror. You'd do that? Without a doubt, because my son deserves a woman who loves him, not one who uses him. I love Michael. No, Virginia, you love the comfortable life that Michael can give you thanks to my money. That's not true. Then prove it. Get a job, support your family, and prove that you can love Michael without my money. Virginia left that night defeated, but with a clear ultimatum. The next day, very early, I saw her leave her house dressed simply, carrying a folder with papers. For the first time in 8 years, Virginia was going out to look for a job. It was a start. Friday came faster than expected. I was eating breakfast peacefully when the doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. It was Michael with Mason by the hand and a small suitcase. Mom, can we come in? Of course. What happened? Virginia got a job, he said with a tired smile. A waitress at a restaurant. She starts today. I felt a mixture of surprise and pride. I hadn't expected her to actually do it. And why did you bring a suitcase? Because last night, Virginia and I had a very honest conversation. I told her we needed to start over, that I wanted us to go to couples therapy, that things had to change radically. And what did she say? Michael sighed deeply. She told me she'd rather get a divorce than live like a middle-class woman, that she didn't marry me to be a waitress and live by counting pennies. She really said that? Her exact words were, if your mother isn't going to keep supporting my lifestyle, then there's no point in us staying together. I was speechless. Virginia had shown her true face without any pretense. And what did you tell her? That she was right, that there was no point in us being together if she was only with me for the money. Mason, who had been quiet, came closer to me. Grandma Charlotte, my mom doesn't love me anymore. I knelt down to his height. Honey, your mom loves you very much, but sometimes adults can't live together because they think very differently. I'm going to live with you and Dad. Would you like that? His little eyes lit up. Yes. It always smells good here, and you give me long hugs. I felt my heart melt. Son, I said to Michael, are you sure about your decision? Completely. These past few days, I've realized that I've been living a lie. Virginia never loved me. She only loved the comfort I could provide thanks to you. And you don't regret it? Not at all. I feel liberated. My phone rang. It was Virginia. Are you going to answer? Michael asked. Of course. Charlotte. Yes, Virginia. Did Michael tell you yet? Yes, he told me you got a job. Congratulations. Don't congratulate me. It's horrible. 8 hours on my feet, rude customers, miserable tips. Welcome to the real world, Virginia. We can fix this. I can keep working if you go back to helping us financially like before. No, Virginia. Michael already made his decision. But he can't support Mason by himself. He's not going to be alone. He's going to be with me. With you? What do you mean? That Michael and Mason are coming to live in my house while he gets back on his feet, financially. I heard a scream from the other end of the line. That's illegal! You can't take my son away from me! I'm not taking anything from you. You decided that money was more important than your family. I'm going to sue. Go ahead. What money are you going to pay a lawyer with? Virginia hung up furiously. Michael looked at me, worried. Do you think she can do anything legally? Son, a woman who abandons her family because she doesn't want to work is hardly going to get custody of a child. The following months were some of the most beautiful of my life. Michael got a second part-time job. Mason started at a public school, and against all odds, he was happier than ever. Grandma, he told me one afternoon while we were doing homework together, why was Mom always angry before? Because your mom didn't know how to be happy with simple things. I'm happy here with you. Really? Yes. There's no yelling here, no fighting, and there's always delicious food. Michael had completely changed. He was more affectionate, more grateful, more present. At night, after Mason went to sleep, we would talk just like when he was little. Mom, he told me one night, forgive me for all these years, for taking you for granted, for not defending you, for allowing Virginia to treat you badly. You're already forgiven, son, really, because in the end, all of this helped us find each other again. Virginia tried several times to get Michael to go back to her. She promised she had changed, that she now understood the value of work, that they could be happy with less money. But Michael didn't fall for her manipulation again. Mom taught me something very important, he told her the last time Virginia came to beg. She taught me that true love isn't negotiated, it isn't conditional, and it can't be bought. A year later, I was on my balcony watching Mason play soccer in the small yard with his friends from public school when my phone rang. Mrs. Charlotte Davis? Yes, this is she. This is Mason's teacher. I just wanted to congratulate you. Your grandson is one of the most well-behaved and happy kids in the school. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you if you'd be interested in giving a talk to other grandmothers about parenting. Many of them are going through similar situations to yours. What kind of situations? Families who use them financially, children who don't appreciate them, daughters-in-law who mistreat them. Your story has become very well known in the neighborhood. I laughed. My story is known? Yes. Women your age admire you a lot. They say you gave them the courage to set boundaries. I accepted giving the talks. Every Saturday, a group of grandmothers comes to my house, and we share experiences. Many of them have made similar decisions to mine, and their lives have improved considerably. Charlotte, Mrs. Carmen told me a few weeks ago, you taught us that it's never too late to reclaim our dignity. A few days ago, Amelia brought me a letter that had arrived in her mailbox by mistake. It was from Virginia. Charlotte, the letter said, it's been 2 years, and I finally understand what you tried to teach me. Working has made me appreciate the things I used to take for granted. I have a boyfriend now, a simple man who loves me for who I am, not for what I have. I'm not asking for your forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that you did me a favor. You forced me to grow up. I didn't reply to the letter. Some wounds heal better in silence. This morning, as I was making breakfast, Mason hugged me around the waist. Grandma, guess what? What, sweetie? You're the strongest woman in the world. Why do you say that? Because Dad told me that when I was little, my mom treated you really badly, but you didn't stay quiet. You said enough, and you saved us all. I smiled while I scrambled the eggs. He was right. That night in the rain, I didn't just save myself. I saved my son from a toxic marriage. I saved my grandson from growing up in an environment of falsehood, and I saved my own dignity. At 69, I learned the most important lesson of my life. Self-love is not selfishness. It's survival. And it is never, ever too late to say enough. 5 years have passed since that night in the rain that changed my life forever. Today, as I write these lines on my small balcony, I can see Mason playing soccer in the park with his friends from public school. He's 13 now and is a kind, hardworking, and respectful boy. My story has become a legend in the neighborhood. Women stop me on the street to tell me how my example inspired them to set boundaries in their own families. Some stopped being the personal bank for ungrateful children. Others divorced husbands who treated them like servants. Many regained their self-esteem after years of emotional abuse. Charlotte, Mrs. Patricia from the building across the street told me yesterday. My daughter had been asking me for money for her luxuries for 10 years while treating me like dirt. After hearing your story, I told her it was over. Now she works as a nurse and visits me every Sunday for dinner. Our relationship has never been better. These stories are repeated every week. Without meaning to, I have become a sort of community leader for older women. I have a WhatsApp group called Empowered Grandmas, where we share experiences and support each other. Michael has flourished as a pin and as a father. He got a promotion at his job and now manages his own department. He no longer needs 2 jobs. He lives in a small but dignified apartment 3 blocks from my house. He comes for dinner with me every Wednesday and Sunday, and every visit is genuine, filled with conversation and laughter. Mom, he told me last Sunday, I never imagined that the most painful decision of my life would end up being the most liberating. Are you talking about the divorce? I'm talking about choosing you over Virginia. For the first time in my adult life, I made the right decision. Mason studies at an excellent public school. His grades are better than when he was in private school, and he has developed a social awareness that he didn't have before. The other day, he came home and asked me if he could invite a classmate to dinner whose parents were going through financial difficulties. Grandma, do you remember when we lived in the big house and Mom was always angry? I remember, sweetie. I'd prefer this life 1,000 times over. There's peace here. Virginia got married 2 years ago to an accountant she met at the restaurant where she was working. According to Amelia, who heard the neighborhood gossip, they are expecting a baby. I'm happy to know that she found her way, even if it was far from us. Curiously, I ran into her at the supermarket a few months ago. She approached me with a certain shyness. Hello, Charlotte. Hello, Virginia. How is Mason? He's very well. He's a happy boy. I'm glad to hear that. She was silent for a moment, as if searching for the right words. Charlotte, I wanted to tell you that you were right about everything. That I didn't really love Michael, that I was a gold digger, that I needed to learn to appreciate things. I looked at her without resentment. I'm glad you understood. Could you Could you say hello to Mason for me? Of course. She left that afternoon with tears in her eyes, but also with a dignity that I had never seen in her before. My financial life changed completely. I'm no longer the family bank, and my savings have grown impressively. I was able to remodel my house, travel for the first time in my life to see the beaches in Cancun, and I even bought a used but nice car. Charlotte, Amelia, who is still my best friend and confidant, says to me, "You look 10 years younger." It's true. I feel young, vital, powerful. At 74, I am living the best stage of my life. Last month, a social worker from the municipal government came to find me. They had heard about my story and wanted to offer me the role of coordinating a program for elderly people who are victims of financial family abuse. Mrs. Davis, your case has become an example to follow. We need women like you to guide others who are going through similar situations. I immediately accepted. Now I work 20 hours a week helping other grandmothers reclaim their dignity. It's the most satisfying job I've ever had. Last week, an 80-year-old woman came to consult me. Her son had kicked her out of her house to sell it and keep the money, promising he would take care of her in his home. But they had her sleeping in a storage room and used her as a free nanny for her 5 grandchildren. Mrs. Davis, do you think at my age I can start over? Mrs. Carmen, I started over at 69. You have all the time in the world. I helped her file a legal complaint, reclaim her property, and find a decent place to live. Now she also gives talks to other women about the rights of the elderly. These cases repeat themselves constantly. America is full of mistreated, ignored, and exploited grandmothers by their own families. My story has given them hope. Last Sunday, Mason asked me a question that moved me. Grandma, do you think that when I'm older, I'll treat my wife well? Why do you ask me that? Because seeing how Dad used to let Mom treat you badly, I don't want to be like that. Honey, the fact that you're worried about that means that you're already different. Do you promise me that if I ever treat someone badly, you'll scold me? I promise. That conversation filled me with hope. Mason is growing up with solid values, seeing the example of a grandmother who respects herself and a father who learned to value the women in his life. This morning, as I drank my coffee, I reflected on the journey I've been on. That night in the rain was the breaking point, but it was also my rebirth. I learned that it's never too late to say no, that true love includes respect, that being good doesn't mean being a doormat, that a family that mistreats you doesn't deserve your sacrifice. But above all, I learned that a woman can reinvent herself at any age. My phone rings constantly with women who want to tell me their stories, ask for advice, and thank me for giving them courage. I have become the voice of thousands of grandmothers who suffered in silence for years. A few days ago, a journalist came to interview me for an article about family abuse toward the elderly. Mrs. Davis, what would you say to a woman who is living what you lived through? I would tell her that her dignity is worth more than any convenience, that it's better to be alone and at peace than accompanied and humiliated, that it's never, ever too late to start over. Do you regret anything? I only regret that it took me so long to react. The article was published last week, and my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Women from all over the country are calling me to tell me their similar stories. Last night, while I was helping Mason with his math homework, he said something that filled my heart. Grandma, my teacher asked us to write about our favorite hero. And who are you going to write about? You. Me. Why? Because you're the only person I know who turned sadness into strength. Today, 5 years after that night that changed my destiny, I can say with certainty that I was brave, that I chose my dignity over convenience, that I saved not only my own life, but that of my son and my grandson. And every time I see an older woman walking with her head held high, who sets boundaries, who respects herself, I feel that my story was worth it. Because sometimes, just one woman who says enough can change the world. The names and places in this story have been changed to protect the identities of those involved. We do not share this to judge, but in the hope that someone will pause and reflect on how many mothers are silently suffering within their own homes. I truly wonder, if you were in my place, what would you do? Would you choose silence to preserve peace? Or would you dare to confront everything in order to reclaim your voice? I long to hear your thoughts, because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. I firmly believe that God always blesses, and that courage leads us toward brighter days. As we close, I leave you with two of the channel's most beloved stories. I am certain they will surprise and inspire you. Thank you for staying with me until this moment.